What's going on, guys? Welcome to a new edition of The Fresh Take. I'm your host, Mike. In case you haven't seen this before, this is where we share a movie or TV show that one of us loves and the other either hasn't seen before or just hasn't seen in a long time. The movie we're talking about today is The Prince of Egypt. This is the 1998 DreamWorks animated film based on the Book of Exodus. And Brock, I'll start with you. Do you remember the first time that you saw this movie?
I could not tell you the year. I was born 7 days in 91, so I know that I have not seen this outside of just finished watching it on a VHS. So yeah, that's a good indicator of when I saw that. And I still lived with my dad, or I should say I still had the possibility of living with my dad. So that was at least when oh man, it probably was right when it came out, because this came out in 98 and divorce happened when I was in elementary school. Yeah, so like elementary school years, I think, was the last time that I saw it.
Oh wow! So
long time ago.
So it's been a minute then.
Mm-hmm. Been a couple. But this is going to seem really awkward. Two things before we talk about the actual movie that I found fascinating. Three actually. One, wow, Amazon, do you need to work and fire whoever subtitled this movie?
Oh, Amazon subtitles are the worst.
Like, the spacing is just bad. Like, certain words are clumped together. I've never watched anything subtitled on Amazon until just now because I'm becoming an old man and I almost watch everything subtitled. Wow, it's terrible. Two, this cast is ridiculous.
Oh, very.
And three, there would be a media shitstorm if that same cast was cast to do this movie today.
Yep.
Because it be mighty white.
Yeah, pretty much everyone in this cast,
outside of Danny Glover.
Yeah, outside of Danny Glover, are either American or British actors.
Yeah, that hit me real hard as I was watching this.
So you have Val Kilmer as Moses. You have Ray Fiennes as Pharaoh Ramses II. You have Michelle Pfeiffer as Zipporah. Sandra Bullock as Miriam. Mm-hmm. Fucking Jeff Goldblum
as Aaron. That one I didn't remember at all. His voice came around. I'm like, Jeff Goldblum's in this movie? I forgot all about that. Patrick Stewart as Seti.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart as the Pharaoh Seti, and Helen Mirren as the mother.
No way. This is James Avery did additional voices. That's amazing. I didn't know that. Huh. I love James Avery. Oh, okay. And then you get Steve Martin, Martin Short, Helen Mirren.
Yep.
Sandra Bullock. That was another one where I was like, I swear to God, that's Sandra Bullock. Then I had to look at it. I'm like, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, I was just, wow. It's like, holy piss, this movie's stacked. But
yeah. But you're absolutely right in that in like, if this same movie was cast in 2020, people would throw a fit for sure.
Yeah. Freaking Michelle Pfeiffer and Zipporah. That was one of the big ones where I'm like, oh boy, would she have been nailed to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Give or take. Everybody else is not playing the race they are, except for pretty much Danny Glover's the closest one they got to nailing what they're actually supposed to do, but I just had to bring that up because this was one of the just biggest examples of that where it's like, yeah, it used to be you just casted a person. People are a little bit more sensitive nowadays. But yeah, man, this does not feel like a DreamWorks movie.
It doesn't, but to be fair, in the early years of the company, they like a lot of their 2D animated films felt a little more like they felt closer to what would have been extensions of the Disney Renaissance era.
Oh yeah, this reminded me a lot of how it was directed in the art style. A lot. Woo-hoo! We're gonna try that again. Speaking normally, reminded me a lot of the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, and you're actually not far off.
Yeah.
The lyrics were written by Stephen Schwartz, who also wrote music for Hunchback of Notre Dame.
That makes a lot of sense then.
Also, the composer is Hans Zimmer. So if you noticed any similarities to The Lion King,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, like oh, now it's escaping me. The very first song that they play as they're exiting out onto the desert.
Deliver Us.
Yeah, I was just like, oh boy, that was a chant. And it reminded me a lot of gosh dang it. Now I can't even think of it. It's the very last song they sing in Lion King. As Simba and Nala are raising their son up. Wow, I am having the king of all brain farts right now.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, because it's all basically chanting. It's not like an actual song. It's what is that called? Circle of Life. Wow, I'm an idiot. Wow, holy crap. I feel like Ethan, and if anyone, small sidetrack, if anyone watched the Unis Honest videos with Markiplier and Ethan, that was like basically Ethan trying to think of the word skillet for 5 minutes and just couldn't do it. But yeah, they're definitely, yeah, I could tell. That is, it was hitting a lot of cylinders. This is basically like mid-90s Disney, where it's like, it's kind of like now how, or at least it was for a little bit a few years ago, where Disney movies seemed like Pixar movies and Pixar movies seemed like Disney movies.
Yeah,
yeah.
It like the year it felt like that, like especially was 2012, when everyone thought, like everyone was heaping praise onto Wreck-It Ralph when Brave was like, okay, did you guys switch movies accidentally?
Yeah, the direction style, the everything, it was nuts. It's just like, I think you guys put the wrong branding on this. Did you talk to your marketing guy? Because I don't think that's what it was. But yeah, even for it being not technically, ethnically casted correctly, everyone did awesome. Absolutely amazing. Well, obviously Val Kilmer did great as both. I actually like his performance as God better than when he's Moses. That's just me, but
I just like that choice in general of having Moses and God like being the same voice.
Yeah, and there's enough tonal switch to where, like, you obviously you can tell it's him, but there's enough tonal switch kind of where when Conroy throws his voice as Batman and Bruce Wayne, like, you can tell because you're not the person in the situation, but they do just enough to where if someone had not known or listened to that person for forever, that they could get fooled a little just with the like changing in his voices. Val Kilmer should have did more voice work.
He really should have.
He was really, really good in this. Ugh,
my one disappointment, and I'll admit that I learned this later, is that he never got to sing his own like his own songs.
Shut up! I was just about to say he did so good. Who sang it?
His name is Amick Byram. He's a sessions artist from Los Angeles, and he's worked on films like Shrek, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, mostly doing like providing the singing voice for actors.
Yeah, well, he did a damn good job because he had me involved. I seriously thought that was Kilmer. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I really don't. It's really weird. Like the entire time I was watching the movie, and I'm just like, I'm really enjoying this. And then I'm going back. I'm like, what am I going to talk with Mike about? It's basically just going to be like, you would just bring up a scene, and I would tell you why I enjoyed it. It's like, it's one of those things where good old Catholic boy raised up here. You get talked to quite a bit about the same couple of stories on a looped rotation each year. The lesson plans don't vary. So, it was just basically, you're like, you know exactly what's going to happen beat for beat, like story point for story point. And it was just nailed, like to the nth degree. It was perfect. I liked the actual representations. All the visual representations they have for everything were just awesome. Favorite being the just kind of like the wisp of God when he was going through or passing through the houses to go through, and then all you saw to put a light on it and obviously keep it PG-13 was just like exhalation of breath was the caption, like just breath taken away. The subtlety and everything, they didn't hammer you over the head with certain things. Like certain things felt like they were, but it's basically just like, you've heard this 1,000 times. So when someone shows you it in a picture form, it's going to feel like you're beating you over the head when realistically they're just showing you the scene. But they were very articulate with everything they did. I was blown away. I did not remember at all what the water effects in animation looked like at the end of this movie. Holy crap, did those look good.
I had a feeling we'd be talking about this.
It looked amazing from second one and going through. Just the ripples and the waves when it was constant, and then when they went up, like the small blips of like light that would pass through in the waves when you would see like the sea life when they went through.
Every time I see that, like I talk about Prince of Egypt a lot, like on social media. So when I'm searching for GIFs of the movie, like one of the most common ones that comes up is that shot of the whale and the sea life passing through the ocean.
Yeah, that was who directed this?
There are 3 credited directors. Brenda Chapman, who for a little bit worked on Brave.
Okay.
Steve Hickner and Simon Wells.
Why does Steve Hickner sound familiar?
Good question. He also directed the B movie in 2007.
Balto. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's been in the business for a while.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of credits to his name. Okay. Huh. Nice. Yeah, that name sounded really, really familiar. Okay. Anyways, yeah. And there's another Disney movie that this exact animation style reminded me of, Pocahontas.
Yeah, I can kind of see that with the way they animated the eyes.
With the eyes and specifically like the bridges of their noses. Like Moses's was exactly like the head pilgrim, the bigger one with the dark skin. Can't think of his name.
James?
Could be. But like the bridge of the nose, like where it's that real blocky shape. That was a big thing that was in the animation around then. But yeah, wow, that could have fooled me. If you would have not put the DreamWorks Animation logo in front of this, which also, by the way, man, I know it's basically the same thing now, but that old DreamWorks logo, so good.
I do miss that old logo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get me wrong, I like the other the newer variations, but that classic logo was just perfect.
Yes, it was. So, I'm just trying to think here. Like, again, I would just gush over animation stuff in every scene. Was there specific parts you wanted to speak about, or?
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask you, because this is a musical. I'll ask. Do you have a favorite musical number? I know we spoke a little bit about the intro, Deliver Us.
Yeah,
which is probably one of the the best ways to kick off this story.
Oh, absolutely. And man, you're gonna have to remind, because I'm going over it in my head here, but I think my favorite, just because of how catchy it was when, you're gonna have to remember their names. I believe it was Seti and How, I believe it is, the two little the articulators for Ramesses, when they went through all the names of the Egyptian gods. Like, I think that one's my favorite. It's just it's snappy, it's simple, it just goes. And the best part of it is the setup. He's like, all right, brother, we will tell you our answer. And then they just bust into this Broadway number about all the Egyptian gods.
This song is called Playing with the Big Boys.
Yes.
And admittedly, it's my least favorite song on this soundtrack, but I love it in the context of the film, because it's like, to the audience, it's plainly obvious that Hotep and Hoy are con men. They're
Hotep and Hoy, sorry. Yes.
They're they're like, they have this like showmanship to them, but to the people, like, they see him as actual magicians, like they see them as magic wielders.
Yeah.
When we all know it's all, like, when the audience is aware that it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, especially with the so one of my only nitpicks was it's just because they didn't do it in a way that I liked. It was kind of weird when Goldblum brings up, or when Aaron brings up that they have the same as us. We saw them do that, whatever. I'm like, that boat is 30 feet away and they're holding that bowl straight up. You didn't see a damn thing that happened in that bowl. Don't even try and tell me. They didn't even say what they did. You just threw some food coloring in that thing and you fell for it. That was the one where it was like, you didn't see anything. Where I was like, that was the one point. This movie is masterfully crafted, but that was the one point where I'm like, are you kidding me?
I love nitpicking moments like that.
It's the one and only one. It's like, what? And that's purely direction. Like, if they would have just like held it sideways, they could have saw it. They would have been like, oh, it's blood. He did whatever. And then it's like,
or if they were just like closer to the shore, but you were right. They're pushed way the hell that.
That was the only point that kind of took me out of it for a couple of seconds. I'm like, pardon me? But yeah, no, that was, they're very much the con men, and to the point of where it's like they even diminish great things. Like, when he turns the river into blood, he turned the whole river into blood. They just threw food coloring in a bowl to make it look like they did it with a bowl of water. And they're just like, they just did what you did. I'm like, you guys are that downtrodden? Like, come on. That's one thing. He did all of that. It's just like it fully illustrates just like how much it's been pounded into their heads that they're not anything special and all that. So it gets the point across. It really does. That just like they look at the smallest, tiniest hint of doubt, and it kicks their hopes in the garbage. So it does technically make sense. And I'm not hoying that part. Like I just said, it was just the delivery. But yeah, all the music in it was good. And it's like, if I would probably have watched it, had a better memory, I would be able to recall like point breakdowns and all that stuff. But like the very first song that when Moses gets to like Meridian and all that go dancing through, just like, man, look, I can't think of who it is, but one of my favorite characters in the movie is I don't even know if she's listed on IMDb as a character. Sephora's, I believe it's her little sister.
Oh, I can't remember her name in the film, but I know who you're talking about.
The one that keeps asking Moses to dance. I thought that was just really cute. And to come sit by him and all that. Yeah, that was really awesome. I really like that.
And you see people like anytime you go to like a big family event or something, there's always those like those kids who just kind of latch on to you.
Yep. There's always the one person they think is really cool. Be like, come sit by me. Everybody will think I'm cool.
That's also just something that I've always loved about this movie, that it's a pretty straightforward adaptation of the book of Exodus, but what sets this apart from even the Ten Commandments is how it feels more intimate. Like at the end of the day, the story really is about the relationship between two brothers.
Yep. It focuses a lot more on that versus the actual like trials of the Hebrew people and that whole journey. They very much slated it behind Ralph Fiennes and Bill Kilmer's performances as those two brothers, which was a good good choice, because you definitely get it to go across. And like the moment when they're in the temple that last time, right before the plagues come, or like right after the plagues come, actually, I'm sorry, and they're talking about switching the heads on the gods, and like they were really close to like actually having a conversation, and all his son has to come in and do and be like, isn't that the guy that ruined everything? And he just flips on a dime. Just like, you guys had 5 more minutes. You were getting somewhere, but no. It's weird. Like, I'm trying to think of the process of like what do I want to say? Pitching this movie of like, we're going to go through this trial of the Hebrew people and the plagues, everyone, and Moses' journey of getting through it. But that's a side story, pretty much. It's kind of weird.
Which is why I'm just always impressed by how they came up with this angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if I'd like it as much if it was, and this could all fall on direction, or like there's always like improv and other things and writings and whatever for how it gets to the final beats. But I don't know. Like, this isn't the days where we find out like every person that tried out for a role. But I don't know if I would have liked it much if it was anybody other than like Val and Rafe, because like they nailed everything they did. They had stupidly good chemistry in this movie.
I agree.
Yeah. And yeah, just again, it's just gonna turn into me gushing about stuff, but I don't want every fresh takes to turn into that. But it was it's good from head to toe. Like I said, I barely remembered it because I watched it so long ago, and I am normally not a big musical person. Like I like music and when it's involved in stuff, but I normally basically unless it's animated films, I don't really care too much for things like that. I'm not like triggered to go watch like Les Miserables or things like that, but like this was something I would watch again. This was very well handled and yeah, it takes a lot for me to get into something that's a musical. So it got me, and that's saying something.
That's good because like animated movies or like that's how I got into musicals. That's how I got into music. Period.
Oh.
So it's always nice to like to come back to this, like after like once every couple months or a couple years. I consider this one of my comfort movies because it's something I've seen like at least a dozen times. It's one of those movies I can come back to just and like anytime I either whether like I just want to listen to the soundtrack or I want to see I want to like to watch a particular scene. Like one of my all-time favorite scenes in any movie is when Moses approaches the burning bush.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Telling him to remove his sandals, all that. The animation on the bush itself was crazy. That was very well done.
Yeah, I love seeing like everything from so like every once in a while I'll kind of forget like the setup of the scene. Like I forget every time it actually starts out in like early morning, and then he goes into the bush or he goes into the cave and sees like the bush burning. Every time it gets better whenever I see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the again with like them representing God with that pure like wispy white light, and especially it exemplifies exactly when you first see it because he's got that whitish type of flame that's in the bush. It's really well done, and that whole scene is handled awesomely. It's like that's not also in my opinion what like it's a what I want to say contrary to what almost every other representation of what the burning bush looks like. Normally it is just basically a bush on fire. It's not some ethereal like magic looking white flame that is emitting from what actually looks more like a cut. It's a very unique take on it and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've never really understood why they call it the burning bush. I mean, yeah, it's obviously burning in other interpretations, but this is the most different visual representation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it almost makes me want to like I am going to be when this airs, I'll be in about 2 weeks going down to visit my second family, which is my youth pastor, his wife, and his kids. Normally go down there a couple of times a year to visit them. And I kind of want to ask him what his opinion on it is of like that representation, because most of what, like I said, every single Bible book, anything you'll ever read that has representation looks nothing at all like this. And it's not really ever in a cave. It's just on a mountainside in a wide open area in the dark of night so it can exemplify the flame. But yeah, it was very, very well done. Give or take, it's obviously for showmanship, but still, someone had to come up and be like, we should do a white ethereal light that does not burn anything not even the bush that is technically burning but isn't.
Yeah, that was a nice touch too.
Yeah.
Like he puts his staff in the bush, nothing. His hand it's just light.
Yep. They kind of, what it instantly reminded me of, and it's really weird. There was a scene in Supernatural when Castiel, or this guy, I believe his name it's something Novak. I can't remember exactly what the guy's name is, but Castiel is honing in on this guy to take him as a vessel, and like to prove his faith in God, he has to put his hand into like absolutely scalding, burning hot water, and he just lifts it out and he like basically waves it the exact same way that Moses does, and then like it just drips off of him. And I thought of that instantly. I was just like, that is a very common like God test, like in any of these movies where it's like, show your faith and like your faith that you will not be harmed as long as you believe in all this, and like have your faith in me. And it wasn't delivered that way. He just did that. Like, he didn't get told to, he just did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think something else like I like about this movie, as someone who is not necessarily an atheist, but is
we said agnostic the last time we talked, right?
Yeah, I said agnostic. This is by far one of the best faith-based films.
Oh yeah,
because it's not. It walks this really fine line between, between just telling a simple story, and it's not really preaching a message, so much as it's just retelling a story from the Old Testament.
It is, and it's not exactly. It's a weird way to say it's not preaching a biblical message, but it is preaching a message to not be a horrible person. Like, it's like it took a biblical story and then used it as a lesson overall, versus, like you said, they took a religious tone and then used it to tell something else, which is not common. Yeah.
Like it's a very fine line that they walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to be of any particular faith to enjoy this movie.
No.
But it does help if you were raised like I think I've talked before that I was raised both Catholic and Jewish, and I still celebrate both holidays. So I'm pretty well versed in the story.
That would say you got a good run around there. I got the main part. Mom was Catholic, Dad was Lutheran, and then I ended up being Baptist. So I got basically a good chunk of the whole story from the main three on that side of it. But yeah.
Now, aside from that one nitpick, is there anything else that you would change with the film?
It's really hard to ask because it's like, what part of the Bible didn't you like? This was an hour and a 30-minute film. I could have actually done with, like, the part that always fascinates me is when they mention all the plagues and stuff that they go through. And that was one part that was kind of just like, bad things happened, and then we like went on to the next scene. I wouldn't have minded a couple of scenes where people actually got to notice like this stuff starting to happen and a little bit more questioning towards Ramesses, where you're like, why aren't you listening to him? Like, we never really got a people coming to their senses a bit of like, just listen to the dude. We never got one of those moments where it's like, in this situation, someone eventually would have went, do you not see locusts? Like, is this stuff not like, and the fact that also right away where it's like, the dude starts off turning a piece of wood into a cobra. Like, no one bats an eyelash. And then all that goes through. I wish there would have been a couple of scenes where like Ramesses like struck down somebody. Not like they didn't have to say you murdered it. You could have obviously shown it off screen, like saying like I banished this person to death because they questioned my authority. It just would have been nice to have a little bit of like someone's attempting to knock sense into him outside of Moses. But
I hear what you're saying.
That's really it. Like they did exactly what they needed to do. They did it in an excellent fashion. And I have to say this in a way that I can. When I say a perfect movie, it's different from when I say a movie was done perfectly in the way that it needed to be. Like, to me, a perfect movie in my head will just show that one of my movies that was perfect is Deadpool. I can't think of a way that they represented it that was wrong. That movie is perfect. And then there's movies to me that obviously there's some stuff that's a little bit weird. Like my favorite movie of all time is Cool Runnings. Always has been, always will be. And to me, that movie was done perfectly. They had a story to tell, and they told it in the exact way that they needed to. Could they have done some stuff differently? Yes. Could some things be improved? Yes. But I think how it was handled was perfect in the way that they could and how they could at that time. So I think that in how they wanted to make this movie, they did it in basically the most perfect way that they could. It's not a perfect movie, but I think it was done in probably the most perfect way that they could. If you get, I don't know if that makes sense, but
I hear what you're saying, and I honestly kind of agree. Like this is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
But I freely admit that it's not quite the best animated movie of all time. There are things that when viewed through a 2020 lens could have been improved, but for 1998 in the environment that this movie was made in, I think it's the perfect version of, let's take the book of Exodus and translate it in a way that's palatable for a general audience.
Yeah, exactly. You explained it a lot better than what I was. Yeah, that is pretty much what I was going for. Yeah, I really wouldn't, other than like the bowl. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a little bit of questioning. Other than that, like, no, they did everything exactly how. Now, question: is there anything you would have changed off of this now that you got a 2020 lens on it?
Well, besides a complete recast, but that would be difficult because
yeah,
like I've seen this movie like a bunch of times, so I have no idea who I would cast like as Moses or Ramses or anyone else. One thing I might change, I probably would have like I would have either toned down the humor, like completely axe Hotep and Hoy,
okay,
or man, that's That's really tough.
Like the humor in general, like even the stuff in the start where like they're racing through and like breaking the statues, or just those two specifically?
Maybe just those two, because like in the beginning you kind of need like the jovial nature of Ramses and Moses, to show that they're brothers, and they like, they're mischievous, but they care about each other.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
But yeah, other than that, I pretty much view this movie as perfect.
Yeah.
For like perfect for its time, and it's kind of the perfect introduction for people who want to experience the story in a way that's more palatable than, say, the Ten Commandments, which is it's still a great movie, but it's like it's an epic. So it's over 3 hours. There's way too many characters. It feels more melodramatic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want that story, I will more than gladly recommend The Prince of Egypt.
Yes. Yeah. It's well done. It's in the heyday of animated movies, where pretty much almost any studio was dropping at least a couple of bangers within like a 8-year span.
Oh, totally.
I never think we're gonna have a span of just consistently cranked out good animated movies like we did in like 90 through like right around 2000 to 2002.
Like
it was
not
nuts.
Since then we've had at least like every studio makes like at least one great movie a year, but it's not quite the same as like in the 90s where you had like you had Disney was the top dog, and everyone was like, I want to try to be the best.
Yeah, it was the what is the saying? Competition breeds excellence, pretty much. And Disney was obviously the top dog, but it wasn't like they owned the planet at that point. They were just the ones that were up top, and it was kind of like, you know what? We could still kind of do this. It was basically the WCW versus WWE of the time with animation, except it ended a little bit differently. But yeah, and now that's one thing that I kind of don't like, that Pixar is owned by Disney. I do and I don't like it, because
it's complicated because like Pixar will usually put out quality entertainment, but it's also kind of competing with itself.
Yeah. And it's like you and I said, where now it's getting to be the point where every now and then we're forgetting what movie belongs to which studio. I used to never do that. Like with Disney and Pixar, I knew which was which. And it's whatever. But yeah, go watch all the old like 90s animated movies. They're great. Like the other day, I was going through my old VHSs and a couple old DVDs, and I realized how long it's been since I've watched A Bug's Life.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that in forever.
That movie, we want to talk about things that don't happen anymore. That movie has one of my things that will never come back again, and I miss it so much. Animated bloopers.
I think the last movie to do animated bloopers was Monsters Inc.
Yeah, those were just they're the best. The scenes in the back where like I can't remember exactly what the head grasshopper's name is, but he's doing this big melodramatic speech to one of the ants, and she just keeps laughing at him, and he can't do. It's like, and he has the script in his hand. He's like flopping around. I just can't do this. I'm done. I will be in my trailer. Oh man, 90s was a beautiful time. Anyway, I got us kind of off track there. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm just glad to have another platform to talk about this movie. To be completely honest.
Oh, it's all good, man. Had you go through 27 episodes of Gurren Lagann, so you had to wait a little bit.
It was worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I would say we could start basically closing out, but I know we talked about all the stuff last time. We're going to exactly remind what our future plans are, even though people won't be seeing this video for like how many weeks.
Well, the next one we're doing is another one of my favorites. This is Spinal Tap,
which I've not seen a second of outside of but it goes to 11.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be really
and then following that, we're going to talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I don't know how that's going to go.
It's going to be interesting.
Because you want to talk about interesting theological discussions.
Oh yeah, we're going to crack that wide open.
You know, I'm noticing a trend here. Outside of This is Spinal Tap, everything we would have done a freaking fresh takes for so far has an interesting or right out in the open religious theology lesson behind it.
I promise we didn't plan this, guys.
We didn't. I swear to God. Swear on my soul, that was not the idea. Because trust me, I've talked with Mike behind the scenes about the other three options of what we might do after this, and none of them got nothing to do with religious overtones. Well, one of them does, but it's not anything to do with actual religion. It's trying to make himself one, and it's something really different because he don't get what it means. But I'll let you think about that at home because I'm not going to say it. But if you say it in the comments and you're correct, I'll tell you. I'll be very impressed. Yeah. This is your baby, Mike, so I'll let you close it how you want.
All right. Before we go, any final thoughts?
Let's go watch it. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's anywhere to watch free. I rented it on Amazon Prime for like $3.99.
Yeah, I actually rented it on YouTube for about the same price.
There you go. Yeah, that's another thing. Basically, if it exists, you can rent it on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Although I will say, DreamWorks or Universal, please give this a proper Blu-ray release.
It doesn't have one?
No.
Only DVD or like?
Yeah, no. It has a DVD, but that's about it.
Has DreamWorks ever put out like what do I want to say? Like a collection of sorts on like?
I don't know, but they really should.
They got a gold mine waiting there. I don't know why they wouldn't.
I hope they do something like that for their 30th anniversary.
How long is that?
Let's see. They were formed in 94. So 30 years will be like 2024.
Wow. Holy crap. Yikes.
But yeah, that's a topic for another day. For now, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups, just at my name. Check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Check out all our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. And check out renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. Brock, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Organoid0 everywhere. This YouTube channel and on Twitch, where I'm finally going to start streaming off of that big old beast of a computer modem sitting over there. And I'm going to try and make a bet with myself for when this comes out. I think I'll probably be streaming Outriders when this video comes out. We will see. But yeah, basically Twitch is where you're going to find me the most. Might try streaming on Facebook now that I got a better internet connection. Used to have 40 up. Now I have 400. Fiber's great.
Nice.
So we shouldn't have any issues like that ever again.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of Fresh Takes. We will catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace.